Is the 18th, right? The 18th of Sivan, Yeshkaya. Now, just for one very beautiful var, Tanya today is speaking a lot about what we've been speaking about, the idea that really the whole world is Hashem. And the only reason we don't see that is because we're living in a hidden, we know the world comes from Olam Lashon Helam. The world is concealing the truth. And that, of course, like the Tanya is saying, is the kindness of Hashem. The example that I like to give is that it's like a parent that conceals his own, really the parent has full control over the child, but he conceals his own power. He really gives a lot of space for the child to live because he wants the child to develop, and he wants the child to be a self-sufficient person and grow, etc., etc. And that's part of the challenge of life, particularly I think for religious people, because certainly your children being religious is very important. But ultimately, like Rabbi once said to a guy, Mel Landau, who started the Landau schools, big donor, and he had some trouble with his children. So the Rabbi said that a family is a soul unit. And therefore, it's like we know in medicine you can heal, let's say, the feet, it heals the body. So a person can, certainly the head can heal the body. So the better we work on ourselves, it has an effect on the rest of the family. Myself being divorced, you have a son somewhere else, not always easy, but I always take the solace in this idea that, if I'm improving myself, I'm improving my family, and I think it's a very true thing as well. So that means, one of the hardest things in life is when a person feels powerless in a situation, which is very important to them. But actually, when you realize that you do have power in that situation, then it makes you feel a lot better. And so it's very important for parents to understand, especially today where there's a lot of craziness. I mean, it's never been any different. One of the things that I blogged today is that the truth never changes, right? What's the truth? That God is right and we have to grow. But the lies always change, even though the lies are really the same. Like I have a friend, he's a very bright guy. He says the Satan just puts on a different clothing. I mean, nothing changed. I mean, it has basically two desires, ego and sexual perversion. And yet it just puts on different clothing of what that looks like in different generations, but it's all the same. So in the end of the day, we have to say Hashem makes these challenges because ultimately what he desires is tshuva. But so we do have the power in our own behavior, because everybody, I think the Shalosh says, I forgot who brings down, a Yid really has, I think the Rebbe lived with this approach also, that a Yid has true Bechira Chavshis, because he's a Yid, really has Bechira Chavshis. So in that sense, the best we can do is Bechira Chavshis on ourselves, and obviously be good role models to the extent possible. Now, getting back to the Tanya of today, the Alter Rebbe says, very interesting. I've learned Shayich many times, as many of us have, but I never really saw this until this very morning. And it's really a very profound concept. And the concept is that the light of the sun within the sun itself. So the Alter Rebbe very often speaks about the light of the sun within the sun. You can't call it light, but if you had to describe the light of the sun within the sun itself, you would say, well, this is the sun. And the same thing is, we are basically Hashem, because we are on an absolute level the light of the sun within the sun. So therefore everything is literally Hashem. Now the Rebbe goes deeper into this concept, and he says especially a Yid literally is Atzmos. Other things kind of are Koyach HaAtzmos, but a Yid is literally Atzmos. That's why there's certain things that Yidden have, certain obligations, and even in Amunah, which is kind of unique to the Yid. For example, the idea that Einoid Movadai is not, Goyim do not have that level of Amunah. They don't have to have that. They're allowed to have Shittuf, which is a belief in there's God and ministry. In other words, the idea of Achdus Hashem, the idea that there's nothing but Hashem, in a certain sense is an obligation, because Amunah Hashem the Goyim have to have. But Achtos Hashem, that there's nothing other than Hashem, is a very, very subtle idea. A friend of mine, he adopted some kids from India. And in India, it's very interesting because India has idol worship, but even in India, they say there's only one God. They just say that it's difficult for people to understand this, so they raise them up level by level. And it was like, wow, you guys teach your kids that there's only one God? That's amazing. In other words, the concept of, and it says in the Zohar that before Mashiach comes, even the children will know Kabbalistic ideas. And everybody's very, very, especially the Jewish children, they're very in tune with spirituality, very in tune with Jewish ideas. So today, very much our goal is to teach the highest truths. People are very open to it. My brother-in-law is a rabbi in a community. He said, listen, if these kids can watch Harry Potter, I can tell them every single medrash that exists, right? Their minds are open to these ideas. They're certainly open to those ideas. Chaim v'lavracha.